My name is Hajnalka Hős, or Hajni Hős. I'm from Hungary, and right now I'm the coordinator of the Peterborough Partnership Council on Immigrant Integration. I came from Hungary 3 years ago because of love. I met my husband, who is Canadian, in Hungary in a children camp for gypsy children. He was a volunteer from Canada, I was a volunteer and organizer from Hungary. So that's how we met, and then he was working in Ukraine at the Hungarian border for a couple of years. So we lived there for 5 years, and then in 2007 we moved to Canada. I'm a lawyer in Hungary, and I also have my upper elementary and high school teacher's diploma, and I was doing a PhD in political science and sociology, but that kind of died when I moved to Canada. My diplomas were not recognized in Canada, or I could say that I did not go for the accreditation process. The law diploma is really difficult because the law system is very different in that part of Europe and in Canada. So I probably would have to go back to school from the beginning. And my teaching diploma, I think that would be easier to get accredited, but I hear that now in Canada there is a big problem that there are not enough kids, and it's really difficult to become a teacher. So, and I still would have to go back probably to school just to ask what courses I would have to take. It costs like $400. So it's a pricey and still lengthy process. And I'm not sure it would be worth it, because at the end it's really difficult, especially in Peterborough, to find a teaching job. And I went through a good 6 to 8 month period when I just started to look for lower and lower jobs. I even applied to McDonald's or Tim Hortons to serve coffee. I was that almost depressed or just frustrated with the situation at the time, but thanks God this job came out, and the new Canadian Centre, I think, is very open-minded in hiring immigrants. You know, they know that your language will never be 100%, but you can still do your job just fine with it, and people will get used to your accent. Probably the biggest shock for me, first shock, is not finding employment for first. That was the biggest trauma. I think a lot of people deal with that. But the country is beautiful. People are very nice, and yeah, they are great. I had to go through quite a few culture shock here. Probably the biggest culture shock for me, or what I had to adjust here the most, is how direct I am with people. I find Canadians being very, very nice and always talking to you very gently and very nicely, but you don't really know what they are actually thinking. In Hungary, people are very, very direct, but it's not hurtful because you are direct with everybody and you are used to that people are direct with you, so it's completely okay. When my husband came to Hungary, he thought that everybody hates him for 3 months until he got used to it. That is just the style, and you actually know, people tell you what actually they think. If you have an ugly shoe, people will tell you that, hi, you have an ugly shoe. It doesn't mean they don't like you or they have a problem with you personally. It just means they don't like your shoe. And I was living in according of these rules in Canada. For example, I think my mother-in-law came home from the hairdresser, and I told her that, oh mom, your hair is terrible, you should never go back, or something like that. And that's when my husband said that, okay, it's time for a little cultural training here. You cannot do that in Canada, and it's rude. So that's hard, still hard for me. I think sometimes I don't want to hurt people, but maybe sometimes if I tell somebody your shoe is ugly, I think they will take it personally here. So that was one big culture shock I have to deal with.